Over the years, Red Bull chief advisor Helmut Marko has built a reputation as a man who says just what he thinks. Not only does he speak as he pleases, but he also acts on his thoughts. It doesn't matter who is on the receiving end, and judging from what just happened, it could be anyone. Quite recently, the chief advisor made a terrible claim about Red Bull's driver Sergio Perez, and it got the Mexican rethinking his choices. What was the chief advisor's statement, and how did Perez react? Kindly watch till the very end to find out. At the beginning of the 2023 season, the Toro Rosso team were in high spirits, as it looked like they would have two title contenders on their team. The two drivers were winning races alternatively, and the team couldn't be more pleased. Helmut Marko himself was brimming with joy, but before long things began to change and Sergio's performance began to decline. It all started in Monaco. Checo had crashed just 8 minutes into the qualifying session and ended up finishing 16. Everyone thought it was a one-time thing that had occurred due to the crash, but it wasn't. In the next race, which was held in Spain, he finished 4th, and in Canada 6th, before finishing on the podium in Austria. When people were optimistic again, he finished 6th in Great Britain. These ups and downs became Checo's reality, and he found himself fighting to even be among the top 5. Although he remained second on the Drivers' Championship board, the gap between his and Verstappen's points became too wide for Marko to ignore, and the chief advisor couldn't hide his displeasure anymore. Taking note of what happened to Nick de Vries, Sergio knew it was dangerous for Marko to be displeased with him, but nothing prepared him for the statement the chief advisor recently made. So let's start by discussing how the chief advisor began to show his displeasure. At the end of last season, when Daniel Ricciardo was introduced as the reserve driver, fans concluded that it was all a ploy to have Ricciardo replace him, but the team seriously debunked the claims. However, it seems Marko is now signing a different tune. In a very recent press statement, Marko openly expressed his displeasure over Perez's performance and mentioned his regrets over the fact that McLaren's driver, Lando Norris's contract wouldn't expire until 2025. He said Norris was the perfect candidate to take over from Perez, stylishly hinting at the fact that he would replace Perez in a heartbeat if Norris was available. Perez has a contract until 2024 and Norris has a contract until 2025. Unfortunately, it's that long. He, Lando, is definitely a candidate for us at Toro Rosso. We had already reached an agreement with him at the time until his manager realized there was an option for a McLaren contract. He even called Perez an old man with many kids, saying they needed young drivers taking the wheel of their cars. In terms of youth and speed, he would suit us very well. Sergio, on the other hand, is already over 30 and is expecting his 4th child, so he also has other interests. So you have to see what happens next. But the team's principal, Christian Horner, is set on the fact that it would be unfair to end Perez's contract before time. Nonetheless, the reality is that if Marko keeps pushing for the dismissal of Sergio Perez by the end of the season, his future at Red Bull would become bleak. However, Checo's performance at the Italian Grand Prix was very impressive. It might have served as a reassurance for the Mexican Red Bull driver that he still got it. Perez had started 5th position on the grid and no one really expected him to go up the line, especially the likes of Marko, but the driver had gone ahead to finish ahead of not one but 3 drivers to finish on the podium. He has skillfully passed the Mercedes driver, George Russell, as well as the 2 Ferrari drivers, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, to comfortably finish behind Verstappen in 2nd place. It was incredible. Everyone was very impressed by the performance, and they all expected that he'd get at least a pat on the back from Marko or maybe just a thumbs up, but he got the complete opposite. In an interview after the Italian GP, Marko compared the difference in mentality between Max Verstappen and Perez. It would have been a harmless interview if he had not gone ahead to make a racist statement about the Mexican driver. Let's remember that he is South American and so he's not as focused as Max Verstappen or Sebastian Vettel was, but racing is his forte and he had a very good race. Overtaking 3 drivers, in George Russell and the Ferraris, was not easy. Okay, expert geographer, first of all the statement about Checo being a South American is totally wrong, because Mexico is nowhere near South America, and to the best of our knowledge, Mexico is located in the southern part of North America and not South America. And what exactly does being South American have to do with not being focused? After Marko made the statement, fans didn't wait a second to give him a piece of their mind for making such a racist and ignorant comment about the driver. Many people were totally disappointed that he tried to relate whatever was wrong with Perez to his origin. Amidst all of it, Perez didn't give a direct response to the statement, He probably just thought it was best to ignore it, but he began hinting at the possibility of him leaving the Red Bull team before his contract ended. With the season we've had, it's important to have the next races in an environment where I feel I can contribute. And if that place for 2024 is not here, we will have to look for other alternatives. But right now my main focus is to be here to win championships with Red Bull. I'm under contract until next year, and at some point next year we'll sit down and talk. This proclamation might be what Marko has been hoping for by making such an unfair statement, but no one was having it. In fact, the FIA reprimanded him for it. An FIA spokesperson told Sky Sports News that they'd given him a stern warning, and also reminded him of his responsibilities as a public figure. We can confirm that Helmut Marko has received a written warning and been reminded of his responsibilities as a public figure in motorsport in line with the FIA Code of Ethics. Due to the heat on him getting so intense, he decided it was best to apologize. In his apology, he stated that he didn't mean to attribute Perez's inconsistencies to his cultural heritage, and he was just trying to make a point about Checo's performance. Concerning my remark about Sergio Perez, Servus TV Sport and Talk Monday, September 4, I would like to apologize for my offensive remark and want to make it absolutely clear that I do not believe that we can generalize about the people from any country, any race, any ethnicity. I was trying to make a point that Checo has fluctuated in his performance this year, but it was wrong to attribute this to his cultural heritage. The team's principal, Christian Horner, also shared the team's stance on the statement. He mentioned that Marko had immediately apologized to Sergio after making the statement before he came to give a public apology. Those comments weren't right. Helmut quickly recognized that and apologized for that both publicly and directly to Sergio. He spoke to Sergio directly about it. And Verstappen, Perez's teammate and Marko's star driver, had shared his bit about the whole situation. He said that if one looked at the statement from Perez's point of view, it was unfair, but in reality, Marko wouldn't have meant any harm and had just expressed himself wrongly. Hopefully, Perez didn't take his comment to heart and accepted the apology, and maybe after this, Red Bull's chief advisor will weigh his statements properly before saying them. Amidst all this back and forth, we don't think Perez deserves to be placed under pressure or be constantly insulted due to his performance. It's not unusual for one driver to perform extraordinarily well, while the other not as much. And since Perez is still above others on the driver's standings, the best thing is to encourage him and try to help him as much as possible. Also, what do you think about all that has been discussed? Do you think Perez should leave Red Bull at the end of the season? Kindly let us know in the comment section. Don't also forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video.